to cut the bottom off the tube and sort of put my finger in and scoop it out. This isn't tea again, this is a Lemsip. Well, straight away I've hit a little bit of a hurdle. Well, hello again everybody and welcome back to the garage. It's about time we had another go on this Triumph Street Tribble because we've got to get it back on the road and running so that we can get it up for sale and move it on, because the plan is not really to keep this. Also, the plan wasn't really to be starting this late in the day. Chaz was going to come up and we were going to spend a whole day, a good solid day on this, and try and really crack through it and get it all done and back up and running by the end of the day. But Nikki and I both had slight colds and really not felt that great, so didn't really want to pass that on to Chaz, and yeah, to be perfectly blunt, didn't really fancy an early start. So had a fairly relaxed morning. It's now about 12 o'clock, but it is time to crack on. Now you might remember in the previous video I hadn't got the correct size socket to tighten up the front sprocket nut, but I bought one now, so that needs tightening to 85 Newton meters, but of course it does go round and round, so I think I'm going to have to try and apply the back brake whilst I tighten it up, which should be interesting. And you just got to bend these locking tabs back up. That should do the trick. Now, I'd like to get the exhaust back on next, and if you remember, that's where all the trouble started, with those split exhaust headers. But last video we discovered that we couldn't get the 2 of the 3 exhaust manifold gasket things out. They're like a solid metal ring, and the new ones I bought seem to be different, and there was a lot of discussion in the comments as to what that could mean, and whether we should be trying to get the old ones out and replace them with the new ones, whether the new ones would deform into the shape of the old ones, or whether even the new ones were the right gaskets at all. And the consensus seemed to be that the new ones would deform into the shape of the old ones, but I'm not so sure, you know. Let's have a closer look. So this is the original gasket, the one that did come out of the cylinder head, and this is the new one. And you can see the new one already seems thinner than the existing one, so that's why I'm not convinced it's going to deform correctly, even if I could get the other 2 out. And also seems to be a completely different material. Now, the bike does have an Arrow exhaust system on it. I wonder if it was a full exhaust system and the headers are slightly different, come with a slightly different gasket perhaps, who knows. But I think what I'm going to do is I am going to reuse the existing gaskets, maybe in connection with just a little bit of exhaust paste. So yeah, basically I've got to get these headers up onto there. That's the port that I've got to put the gasket back into again. I'll use some gasket paste just to try and seal it all up. Got the little collar things to slide up and bolt on. It's a 13mm nut, so I've got the spanner ready for that. And down at this end, this part of the header here has to go onto this bracket. And yeah, that's got to slide up onto the end of the exhaust here. So yeah, there's a lot to sort of connect up at the same time. But I've got everything I need set up and ready to go, so let's give it a shot. Nikki's just stopped by the garage. She's come back from town. She's got some stuff for lunch, so I think that's a good time to stop for a lunch break. You might have noticed my exhaust paste was a bit past its best. Couldn't squeeze it out the tube. It's gone off a little bit. I had to cut the bottom off the tube and sort of put my finger in and scoop it out. So yeah, fingers crossed for that. We'll see how that goes. Right, well that was a good lunch, but it is time to crack on. This isn't tea again, this is a lemsip, unfortunately. I am feeling a little bit under the weather. Nikki has fallen asleep after a trip into town this morning. I think she's feeling it a little bit as well, so hopefully the old lemsip will keep me going. Anyway, I've tightened those header to cylinder head bolts just a little tiny bit to make sure I can get all the nuts on, but there is a sequence to tighten them up to, so they're going to be tightened to 19 Newton meters. So I'm going to set the torque wrench to that and follow the sequence in the book. There's a tightening sequence just like there is for the cylinder head. Well, fingers crossed those gaskets will hold when I do get the bike fired up. I think the next thing to do is to knock that exhaust up into the right position to connect onto the tailpipe and get that all secured. Well, that's proving quite tricky. I just can't get enough swing on a hammer to bash that up there and get that joint together. Even jacking it up just lifted the whole bike rather than pushing the exhaust joint together. I wonder if I might have to take the silencers off in order to push it together. I don't think so. I think it's just a matter of persistence, but I think it's time to move on to something else, and I think what we can do is we can start to put perhaps the throttle bodies back on. Well, straight away I've hit a little bit of a hurdle. Somewhere along the line, the clip, like this clip, that holds this inlet port thing on has disappeared. Nikki's been out, we've been hunting everywhere looking for it, and yeah, goodness knows what's happened to it. I have though got a box of Jubilee clips here. Now, I don't think there's anything particularly special about the clips that are on there. I think this should do the trick. Yeah, that should pop on there just right, I think. Right, time to take these out. Don't want those getting sucked into the engine later. And let's pop the throttle bodies on. Right, I think we can now put in the coil packs. And you can see we numbered them 1, 2 and 3 when we took them out, so I know which ones to put them back on. I'm also going to reconnect the oxygen sensor off the exhaust just so this wire isn't dragging around everywhere. Well, I I was planning on putting the radiator back in next, but for the life of me I can't find the mounting bolts for the top here that go into the frame. I thought we were quite careful in putting everything sort of in an organised way, but unfortunately, because a bit of time's passed, I can't quite remember where we put them. I've looked in all the little boxes of bits and pieces, and it's not with all the coolant hoses and stuff and all the other radiator bits, which I'll put in a separate box. So that's a little bit annoying. I might have to go on the Triumph website and order a couple of those unless I can find something that fits, but I don't really want to start assembling it with random nuts and bolts. So for the moment, I think what I can do is I can put the air box back in. That might be the next thing to do. Before we do though, I need to absolutely check that everything's been done underneath here, and of course it hasn't. We need to put this breather pipe back on, and this needs to connect to something. Not entirely sure what. That's the plug that operates this little valve on the breather. And we've also got the indicator sockets, but that's okay. We should be able to get to them from, yeah, we can get to them from under there. Right, let's pop this breather on. Right, so I think that's everything under here. This looks a little bit... That's the throttle cable, isn't it? That don't really look right, does it? Maybe we need to tighten. That don't look right at all. I suppose it's okay. But yeah, where on earth does this go? So the airbox go on like that. There's nothing to plug into on the bottom of the air box. Just can't see anything that will connect to. Connect that up while we're here. What goes on here? Where is this going to anyway? It's disappearing into the loom there, isn't it? I have absolutely no idea what connects onto there, and I can't put the airbox on until I've worked it out. Well, I think the mystery is solved. This connector here goes onto the fan switch for the radiator, so I can't actually put the airbox on until I have mounted the radiator. So there you go. I think we've got about as far as we can get today on this. At some point I've got to get that exhaust joint closed up. I think that's just a matter of brute force in getting it all to squidge together, and then I can tighten up the clip. So we're going to have another go at that. And I need to get that radiator mounting bolt. I've looked everywhere, I cannot find it. I don't think we can just use any old bolts out of the bolt store, because I think it's a shaped bolt. One bracket is wider, the hole in it is wider than the other, and I think it's got some like little rubber buffers and bits and pieces, so it's not a straightforward bolt, I don't think. Gonna have to have a look at the websites tonight and get one on order. So yeah, reasonable progress, but not as much as I'd hoped. But there you go. We'll see you again very soon in another video.